it to Florence. It is a beautiful view though. This was our Airbnb in Florence. It was about a 20-minute walk from the train station, but only a 10-minute walk from all of the sites. It was around $200 a night, which seems pretty pricey, but I believe it's just because we went around Easter weekend. Here is the Duomo. We had a pass to go to all the sites, including the cathedral, the tower, and the baptistry. So the place we went to first was the Diato bell tower. It actually had 114 steps, so I'm kind of glad we went there first because it was a lot of climbing. But we went there first, there wasn't really a line, and it does help to have tickets in advance or you won't get into the bell tower. You didn't have to commit to the full thing, but I'm telling you, it was worth it after all the stairs that we had to make. And I think what made it a little bit harder was it was a little hot that day in April, which is very surprising, but the views were well worth it. The tower on the far left is actually a part of the square that I talk about later in the video. I loved that area, but it was so cool seeing it from up there. One of the landings, this was like the middle of the tower. They don't all look like this. Later you will get to see the bells. And from this view you could actually see the Duomo. You can climb up to the top on that one as well. However, because of all of the towers that we have climbed and due to time, we did not climb it. I do not think so.
Come on, baby.
I don't think so.
Come on, baby.
No, I cannot imagine going up. And it may seem like I'm complaining a little bit, but we have walked a ton, I mean all day from Pisa to Florence. So our feet, they were absolutely killing us. But again, the tower was worth it, I promise. That's a lot.
That was a lot.
I think in total there was about 4 of these landing strips where you can stop before climbing on to the next level. But after this one, we actually made it to the top. This was our view from the top, and yes, I definitely had to take it in. It was absolutely gorgeous. You had the total view from the top of the city, and I loved Florence. It was one of my favorites, so absolutely beautiful. It does go in a full square, so you can walk around the tower itself. You are, if you can see from the first clip, at the very top of the tower, like if you could turn around and like pretty much touch the top, so that was pretty cool. See that white cathedral in the back? It was St. Crochet. That was where our Airbnb was. So this is the other side of the tower. You can see more of the Duomo from here. Again, you can climb to the top of that cathedral, but we didn't have the time to do it. We did have the ticket package, but that does cost extra. Next, it was time to visit the cathedral. We did have tickets again as a bundled deal, but they let people in to see the cathedral. It was just down underneath that you had to have the tickets for. This was built, from what I've seen, between 1420, and it was absolutely gorgeous. Again, tall ceilings. Most cathedrals will have these tall ceilings and the marble floor, but it was gorgeous. I love the ceiling here, one of my favorites of the Duomo. This was the other side, and this was probably my favorite entrance, just because of all the detail. It's so hard to capture in the video. This was known as the Gate of Heaven. It was attached to the baptistry. So on the other side of this door was the entrance, and this was what it was inside. It did go through a couple of remodeling, so it does have a few parts that are covered up, but for the most part we got the gist of what it would have looked like. So in total, I think all of this took about a couple hours to visit. After that, it was about 3 to 4 in the afternoon, so we made on our way on over to the Uffizi Gallery because we had tickets to view that museum. So this was one of my favorite parts of the trip as well, is just being able to, walk through the streets of Florence, just check out more of the natural city. And to me, it just seemed a lot cleaner than Rome. Maybe I was just going to more of the tourist locations, but I loved it. The shopping areas were really neat, and this area in particular was pretty cool. It was right in the corner there was the Gucci Garden and a lot of really nice restaurants you could eat, and then right in the middle there is the place where we went for the Uffizi Gallery, and up top was the rooftop restaurant that we went to that you'll see later on in the video. But we just walked around and was just looking at everything until we decided to go in to the museum. So we stumbled upon this place, we just walked inside, took a few pictures, and then headed on over to the museum. The museum could easily take you hours to do, but we were so tired we kind of rushed through it, to be honest. So, funny memory, we do have complimentary chips, and the pigeons were attacking each other over the chips, so that was super funny. But next, we hooked on over to the Gucci Garden, and this is just some footage from there. It was around €8 a person, and it took us probably about 30 minutes, so there's plenty to look at. And they do have a Gucci store right next to the museum that has certain pieces just for the museum, so that was pretty cool. So after this, it was dinner time. We did have reservations, but since we were so tired, we decided just to find a place on our way back to the Airbnb, and this is the place that we found. We did have a pretty good view, and we did find some good pasta. This is our food from that night, and honestly, one of the best dishes that I had on the whole trip. After dinner, it was time to say goodnight to Florence. We do have a long day tomorrow. So at this point, we just watched the sun go down and then went to bed. Good morning. It is day 4. We have half a day in Florence and half a day in Bologna today. We are leaving this very pretty Airbnb with a view. We have to check out at 10:30, so we're going to go ahead and use a storage check-in. And we're going to get breakfast and try to get into that Santa Croce. And then we are seeing David today by Michelangelo, and a few other things in Florence before leaving. So I just wanted to give you a little update. Ryan's back there, and we need to get on down the road then. Had a cafe just right down the street from us, so we went and had breakfast and then hooked on over to the Santa Croce, where there was actually no line, so we were able to get in. And I don't remember how much it cost, but I want to say about €9 a person. If you don't buy tickets in advance, it does help going in the morning. Things do get busy in the afternoon. This is actually the burial place of Galileo and Michelangelo, and I believe over 15,000 others, which was absolutely crazy to me. However, some other things that were really cool was that apparently Galileo was not given a Christian burial until 95 years after his death. So that was pretty interesting. But as you can see, this would be where their plots would be. It was a very massive church, and quite frankly, I think it may have been one of my favorites just because of just how beautiful it was and the outdoors area that they have there on site as well. So I ended up deleting the audio for this clip, but basically what I was talking about was the organ. It was absolutely massive and astonishing, and I thought it was super cool to see, and I had to make a note of it. This place was said to have been completed in 1385 but broke ground in 1294, which is absolutely crazy to me. I think it's been standing here ever since. But this was the outdoors area that I absolutely loved and could find very peaceful. It was just, you could hear birds singing, and it just didn't seem like you were in a city at all. So love, love, love this. It was, again, one of my favorites. Probably my second favorite, maybe. Gorgeous. And there behind me is Ponte Vecchio, which means Old Bridge. It was built in 1345 and one of the last remaining bridges that actually has houses on top of them. From there we walked to the Gallery of the Academy of Florence, which is another art museum that is home of the Michelangelo sculpture of David. So we were just making our way over there. What was cool is we saw a lot of markets are out, a lot of stores are out, so that was really cool. Here is a part of the museum. It had a lot of different art as far as sculptures again. It did have what I thought was really cool music instruments, such as like the violins, cellos, the pianos, all from really famous musicians back in the day. So that was really cool to see. Something important to note is if you don't buy tickets in advance to this area, you will be waiting in a very, very long line. When we went, they were very punctual on a time slot that you went and visited, so make sure you look into that ahead of time. And of course, here's the famous David by Michelangelo that was sculptured in 1504 to 1508. There was plenty of other sculptures and other pieces of Michelangelo, but nothing compared to, of course, the statue of David. Next, this is my favorite place, and number 3 on the things of why I love Florence, or reasons why I love Florence, was the market, the local market down below. I highly recommend visiting the Central Market, definitely worth it. But on the first floor is this local market where you can buy all sorts of spices, meats, basically anything you can think of. Jam is all downstairs. Then you go to the second floor and there's an abundance of amazing food from different types. Like, you can get ramen and pizza and pasta and charcuterie boards, fried chicken. Like, the list seemed to go on, and it was kind of overwhelming at first, like where to eat. But I highly recommend if you visit Florence to check this place out, just because it was so cool. I loved the atmosphere, and I ended up getting a pasta tortellini, which was delicious. Ryan was a little hesitant just because it was green, but it was absolutely delicious. And then he got the pizza, which I loved. I wish I could go back and get more of the pizza, honestly, but I highly recommend visiting this place if you are going to Florence.
It only tastes like green mush because
What?
it only tastes like because it's actually green. Really good.
Pizza's good?
Now it's time to unfortunately leave Florence. This was probably around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so in total we did get 24 hours here. but it is on to our next stop, which is in Bologna. That'll be a whole nother video in and of itself. But thank you so much for watching, and hope to see you in the next video. Thanks!